So what I will say, Tony, is you might be a tall carpenter, but I'm the tall carpenter.
Doing that all about 45 minutes.
Tallish carpenters.
At the end of the day, you're paying a skilled tradesman. You're not just paying for that person of that specific day.
No.
You're paying for all of those
experience.
years of history and experience.
You don't pay me for the 30 minutes it cost me to do it, you pay me for the 30 years it took me to do it in 30 minutes.
From my point of view, as soon as a plasterer turns up, the site just, whatever the plasterers want, they get. Let's move mountains. Move your van, mate, the plasterers to pay. You've got to get the balls in.
Who are the people who best run sites? Is it brickers? Is it chippers? Is it plumbers? Is it electricians? It is a big debate, isn't
You
it?
know the answer to that. So
It's bricklayers, because if there was no bricklayers on site, there'd be no building there, would there? Hello everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of the Trades of the Round Table in association with the NYHP podcast. And I'm joined today by a plethora, is that the right word? Get you with the big word. I swallowed a dictionary before at lunchtime. Of some famous faces that we all see every day on our Instagram feeds or YouTube feeds, and we thought we'd all get together and take the opportunity of us all being in the right place at the right time to, why not get together and have a podcast?
Woo!
And
I know, Rob, get it in there, mate.
using the big words, somebody else can use the big words. Now that's me, I'm spent.
I have got a word of the day which we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
Old English that you won't have heard of. It's fantastic.
Ye old English.
Yeah.
Has it got ye in front of
It
it?
hasn't been. No.
We thought we'd all come together today and just chat and chew the fat and talk about things that are bothering us, troubling us within the industry, and what we feel needs to improve and how we can improve it, and what we've all been up to the past couple of days. I hope everybody's had a good Easter.
Yeah, absolutely awesome, Easter. I think one of the things everybody needs is a lot of downtime, isn't there?
Yeah.
And for me, having this kind of downtime, I was able to recharge my batteries and just sort of level the brain out a little bit and think about things in a different way. I was going to approach the business and things like that. And I know everybody, Jal, you're massively into cycling, aren't you? And the way you find your release,
I
isn't
think it's a sort of thing that, and I think we could talk about this in terms of sometimes, certainly in our journeys, there's never been enough hours in the day to do what we want to do.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of, you know, it's always striking that balance between, you know, when you're younger, you've got to get your head down and work and put the graft in. But then as you get a bit older, you get families, you want to try and balance that out. And it's a difficult balancing act, isn't it? So I think
that's really sort of younger generation.
Yeah.
Today is my bank holiday day. So this is my day off.
Well, that's what we say, because we're all sort of at slightly different stages of our lives.
Yeah.
And we spoke, because I recorded a podcast earlier with Alex, and he was saying that he tries and pinches as much time as he can to get the work in and get the jobs done that he needs to. But he's now, as he gets older, he's starting to realise that he's missing out in certain things in his life. Yeah. And I think we can all get sucked into that trap, especially with us all being self-employed to a certain degree.
Is he old then, is he?
Yeah, well, he had an hard paper round. It was uphill, it snowed all the time, he only had wellies on. But we start to prioritise different things in our lives at different times of our lives, and it's a difficult one sometimes, because we think I need to make hay while the sun shines sometimes, and I'll just squeeze that job in, or I'll just do a little bit more, and before you know it, you've missed the kids' party.
And then there's a cost involved in that, and I think it's something you have to be aware of. But I suspect, Mark, and you being a plumber, there's
allegedly.
He splashes around
Top of the food chain.
He splashes around in water all day, don't you?
Yeah.
But I think there's an element perhaps that Tony and I are carpenters, and we don't get this sort of emergency side of it, whereas you tend to do that. So that's another element where you could get called away from family time.
Yeah, the reactive time. It's reactive plumbing is what I sort of put out that I do. Jobbing plumbing, reactive plumbing, and because as Tony will know, living round here in Warwick, Leamington, it's quite small towns. You've got Warwick, Leamington, Stratford, Kenilworth.
That's so true, mate.
So it is. You do get a lot of calls where people are instant. Look, I've got a leak. I've been passed your number by so and so, and because it's not a 30-minute drive to get to that house, you're there within 10 minutes. Be it anywhere within Warwick, Leamington. So that just being that reactive is a massive thing to be able to do, really.
That allows you to record it then as well. Well, it's
Yeah,
easy going.
Well, I had it a few weeks ago. It was a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, I just finished editing my Sunday night video. That was ready to go. My phone's gone. It's like 4:45, something like that. And it's a guy that I just recently quoted to do 2 bathrooms on the Myton Road.
Yeah.
And he's rung me. And I get it a lot. You can hear that panic in that phone call. Hi, Mark. It's Stuart from the Myton Road. I'm gone, and I'm literally.
He's not swearing down the phone.
No. You can hear the. I've hit a pipe. I'm putting some floorboards out. Can you come? And I was like, yeah, give us 10 minutes. Turn the water off. Open your taps. I'll be with you. So I've literally got there, as I said, just down the road. But I filmed that, the journey there, I did an Instagram live.
Yeah.
I went, right, you're following me now, and I filmed it for my YouTube channel. So it was a follow me on that instant sort of journey
really
of a
so
Sunday emergency call out. And it did great, and people were like, this is the real side of the industry, whether it be an electrician as an emergency call out or a plumber. Whereas carpenters, you don't get that.
Well, someone's come home. I've always said this is really funny, and we talk about why, joking, like plumbers are sort of at the top of the food chain in terms of this.
And electricians, can't miss electricians there.
So I've always had this sort of analogy to say, someone comes home, right, and the first thing they want to do is make a cup of tea. So they go to open the cupboard door to where the tea is, and the door falls off. Yeah. Okay, but then they go to the water and there's no water, or they go to the kettle, there's no electric. Who's the last person they're going to ring to fix the fault? They're not going to ring anyone to come and fix that door, are they? No. But they will get someone to fix the plumbing and fix the electrics. Yeah. I mean, partly because we're all obsessed by tea in this country. But so you see, that's the issue, and it may well be that those faulty electrics and those faulty plumbing, they can't be unresolved. Whereas, someone's cupboard door's fallen off, or they've got a sticky front door, the bath panel's hanging off, or something. What I find it interesting, again, because I'm not in that world, is at what point does someone else's problem not be your problem? When have you got to say, look, or do you just when do you decide? What's the filter? When do you say, I'm not answering that phone? It's X on Sunday. I'm tired. There's always going to be someone who's desperately in trouble. Well, there?
I'll give you a prime example. Probably 4 or 5 years ago, Christmas morning, 8:15 Christmas morning. We had some family coming round Christmas Day. 8:15 Christmas morning, my phone's gone. I've looked at it, it's not a number in my phone. I thought, maybe it's one of my nieces or cousins and they're ringing because they were heading over. Hello? Hi, is that Mark the plumber? Yeah.
Literally,
off at the time.
What you should do? Hello, Sedgwick's.
No. I'm going, and again, it goes back to it. With plumbing, a plumbing issue, you can hear that panic in the voice. We've got a leak. Is there any chance you could come out to it? And I was like, I'm looking round. The kids are there. I'm like, sorry, I've got family come round. Sorry, I can't come round. So off the back of that, I've then got off the phone and gone, what have you done, or what has happened? 8:15 Christmas morning, that you're ringing a plumber for an emergency call out. So, went about my Christmas, started the new year, and I spoke to a couple of plumbers in the merchants. Out of curiosity, what would you have charged as a call out on Christmas morning?
Well, plumbers, right? It's got to be nearly 800 quid an hour, isn't it?
But I'm genuinely interested on how much they would, or what would be an acceptable amount. And in my head, I'm thinking, I'd have charged probably 200 quid, which probably wasn't enough. Other plumbers would have gone, 400 quid if they want me out Christmas morning, 500 quid. So anyway, we move along a couple of months. I went back to this house, or got rung. We rung you Christmas, can you come and change your tap? So I've gone there and I've gone, what happened Christmas morning? So it turns out they got a handyman from the village to come and sort this issue out for like 50 quid. I said, what happened? And they went, as soon as I start this story, you're going to go, Christmas morning, they've woke up. They've got I think it was their brother or their brother-in-law coming for Christmas lunch. The year before, they got given a picture by this relative. I don't even need to carry on. So Christmas morning, they've gone to hang it up. They've got a nail. Bang! We've got to get this picture up because Ethel's coming. She gave it us last year.
They're not going to talk to us again.
Exactly. Whack! Straight through a heating pipe. Wow. But at that point, I was like, yes, I could go and absolutely have the pants down. But my Christmas day It's got to be one day where you turn off.
Yeah.
And I went, no.
that's
And it
it.
turns out the handyman come and done it for 50 quid. I went, you had a touch there then, because it wouldn't have been 50 quid. Yeah. But that goes to show, you know, that you need that line.
Yeah, you do.
9 times out of 10, a builder rung me up a few weeks ago. It was, I don't know, 9:15 on a Saturday night. He's rung me, one of his lets. Mark, look, I'm sorry to ring you. I suppose you probably had a drink or whatever. Yeah. My missus was out. She was stopping at her friend's that night. I was literally at home just watching telly. Yeah. I'm not a big drinker. And he went, oh, I don't suppose you get me out of the, you know, the shit sort of thing and go and do this. I went, do you know what? Yeah, I will. You know.
But that's what really counts, though, isn't it? I think in this industry, you know, it's all about helping people out, giving and taking a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think there is that time where you have to sort of limit it down to say, right, I'll get involved and do that, or I can't do this because I've got other commitments. Now, one of the things you were saying is that you were talking about the actual recording of the stuff, because obviously, Alex, you're making that step because you're doing stuff on the phone, but you're now potentially going down the sort of GoPro route. Is it you got yours in your pocket? Have you?
Yeah,
filming.
Yeah, just use my GoPro. Yeah.
I got to up my game. Obviously, Instagram's taken off massively, so I up my game with like not so much up my game with content, but just getting better quality. I kind of want to move over to YouTube as well. Well, I am on YouTube, but kind of push that platform. Yeah, after definitely. Speaking to you guys today and seeing like the figures and the subscribers you can get from that side of things. But like I say, it's that balance as well. And like you just mentioned about on break time, quick 10 minutes, 15 minutes, do your content in and try and factor it into when you got downtime, and not to do it in the evenings.
But I think that's a great thing Mark does, you know, where suddenly, you know, we don't think he's dead in his van. He's actually he's actually busy doing some kind of editing.
To put it into context, I started out filming on my phone because I spoke to a mate of mine that's got his own media company, and he went, people from my channel, they don't want an overproduced thing. Yes. They want the raw, because it's just me. So, you know, you're following me to the van trying to find a fitting going, Jesus
I would say there's probably something that we probably overdo. Ours is a little bit too polished, I think, sometimes.
Yours,
you know?
You've got every trade in-house, I think. So for yours, it's a bigger production, but suits you because it's a bigger company.
I think again, there's something for everyone. So I've watched, your videos always have fantastic production value. Was one specifically where you were doing some demo work, and it was absolutely insane. I just didn't want it to end. Slow-mo of sledgehammers and the music was right, and I think your team just did a fantastic job. But then, so I'll literally fall into that kind of video. It's like, you're getting you're not paying for anything. That's the beauty of YouTube. It doesn't cost anyone anything, does it? Just wait for 5 seconds for an ad to. Watch all the ads.
I'll give you that tenner later, mate.
But by the same token, someone explained to me about content. It's a bit like a Christmas present. You know, what's more important with the Christmas present? The wrapping paper or the present itself? So sometimes it's nice to have it with a nice bow on it, like your videos. And don't get me wrong, the content's always first class. But by the same token, you know, we can't all be capable of that. And I think, you know, in terms of where you're at, there's this steepness. And Tony's been very, very charitable to me, certainly, in my YouTube journey, because it's you start this thing, be it YouTube or Instagram, and you're on your own. There's support pages, but you're on your own, and you know, you put something out there, and you may say something or may omit something from one of your videos, and all of a sudden you're getting absolutely slaughtered in the content. It's like your bottom lip goes.
And no matter how many comments you get 600 comments. And there's one derogatory trolley comment. That's the one. You're on it. Like my missus said to me.
I like the way you put it to the top, though, Mark. Now.
I just
it's like let everybody else battle it to them.
Sometimes I leave them and I'll just put, like on my channel, from the early days when I was getting a few, when it was an early channel, I'd call them dickhead comments. So it'd just be a DHC. So if someone put a comment, I would just put DHC. No, that's it. And then as my subscriber base grew, I then found my loyal subscribers were then using that DHC. If someone come in for me, they would put that. So I'm sitting back going, carry on. Or someone will put a really arsey comment, like a rubbish comment, and I'll just really pick it apart. You know, right, okay, First of all, your grammar's rubbish. Second of all,
That always cuts them to the bone.
Yeah, but I have to get my missus to proofread my reply to make sure that my grammar is bang on.
When in the glass house.
It was gotta be.
Alex, we've all been there, and I think I said about investing in equipment, and you can go mad, I know I've seen guys holding these £700-800 cameras. For me, and looking at your GoPro, that doesn't fit with the way that I'm producing the content. I can be working away and think there's something here worth videoing. Within 15 seconds, I'm talking into a camera, and I think it's easy to get carried away with things like road map. You've got a road map, that's great. There's another bit of equipment that you've got to get out, set up, pair, and make sure it's charged. Yeah. I know I might get a bit of wind noise in some of my, but that's what it is. If it's a windy day, it's a windy day. And it comes across.
But it's that thing of that is how it's happening. It's like the video, one of the ones you just recently. It's like, oh, the storm's coming in. It's going to start raining, so let's go into cover. So, and I think people really buy into that. They love that, and I think that's the great thing with YouTube. You have so many different complexes, different types of video, and definitely with Instagram now, really with the way it's all coming forward. And the way people are interacting between each other through Instagram and stuff like that, it's just absolutely brilliant, isn't it? I mean, obviously Alex's Instagram's like really blowing up and again in a huge way.
Yeah, the last year that has just gone mental, and like everything's on my phone. I've done everything just on my mobile, and you say about the realism and everything. I do the stories every day, so I kind of show my life, not every aspect of my life, but obviously morning stories, evening stories about my day. So you got me in the morning, the work I do, and then what I'm like at the end of the day. If I'm not doing a story, if I'm not doing a story, I'm lying down somewhere. But and people like Instagram is crazy. I've got like this following behind you, and you've got these people who kind of rely on you as well every day. Like they kind of invest their time in you, and they look forward to watching your content, and they kind of on this journey with you. And like I said the other day, we went to Nottingham the other day. And
that was great. That was really cool.
With the boys I was with, and they were showing me these messages of people messaging them saying, "Oh, we're so gutted you didn't invite us to come up with that, Alex. And why aren't we there? And
why didn't you all come up?" It's a bit like what happened here today, actually.
I was like, "Well, why didn't you let us?" It's like it wasn't like that. It wasn't planned that far in advance. It's kind of a spur of the moment thing. But it makes me think you got these people who are watching you every day. Like you don't know who's watching you, but the people who are. They're really invested in
So just might ask, and it's perhaps a question that we could perhaps all answer, is how does that make you feel that people are interested in you and what you're doing?
Oh, I love it. I love the limelight. Don't look at me, I'm shy. But no, it is. I enjoy it. I was never this confident. Like I wasn't.
Right, that's dead interesting. Is that it's doing that brought you?
Yeah, it's kind of
confidence out.
Confidence, but like kind of brought me into that person I've always like
wanted to be.
But
the drunk you. Everyone wants to be the drunk person of themselves, don't they?
It's kind of brought the best out of me and made me a better person.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Why did you? So again, it's perhaps a question we can all answer: is why start in the first place?
I started it all because of work. Because I knew I was going to go on my own, start my own business, and it was just a way to get because everything's going digital. It was just an easy way to get my work out there, showcase like me kind of as a person, but I never thought it would be the way it is now.
Yeah, the way it's gone now. But that can speak in many layers. That the work that you do, people are interested and want to see it, and you're doing a good job, so that helps build your confidence.
Yeah.
You're then turning up every day for them. They're expecting it, or they want to be part and involved of everything you do. And again, that gives you the confidence. So it feeds itself. Instead of it being, I don't really want. Shouldn't I stand in front of the camera? You're like, no, I want to do it now because I want to let everybody know what I'm doing and what I've been up to.
Yeah.
And
I like to do it as well because I want to try and like inspire people to do more as well.
You're definitely doing that.
Hands up for that. I mean, that's a big part of what I'm doing.
It is, and that's why we do the Trust Buddies Live. It's just to get people, not so much out of their comfort zones, just to give them like a chance to like get a bit more within themselves, because you get so many people like they want to do things, they just need that bit of push.
Yeah, definitely.
And
If they
that's
see
what,
someone else doing it,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can do it.
Gives them the
And
confidence.
to actually you then to sit there and say, actually, I've done it, and it's given me a lot more confidence and a lot more, it's inspiring then to other people. You know, you see so many people doing what you're doing, and all of us.
You see other people now through Instagram, like I've been on it relentlessly for a year and a half, 2 years in total, and across the last year especially, you get these other people then start to come out of the woodwork. But you see friends, people who've been speaking to and engaging with, and they start doing their little stories every day and stuff. But their content up, and before you know, you've got this big collective of all this.
It's like a community.
Yeah,
It's like that, you're building a community,
Yeah,
and you're growing together and helping each other out and giving each other tips and tricks, and that's why the whole of us are
This is where it'll help, like with the show, like everyone coming to the show, and we kind of know each other as well, and anyone else that wants to come and learn or be part of the show, they got a bit more, like they can not come and meet us people, but it's like a bit more of an incentive to go, well, he's doing this, he's doing that, I'll
definitely
get involved.
I think the good thing about the show as well is that you're actually coming to talk to people who are actually on the coalface as well. You're not just sort of being stuck. Yeah, exactly that. And you're going to get the honest opinion of how the industry is. You know, that's the one big key thing I think this show is going to do, and it allows people to tap into then all of the bits of different kinds of trades within the industry, isn't it? You know? So I do think that.
I think, you know, none of us under the illusion that, you know, that everything's going sort of well in terms of the UK construction sector, because it really isn't. And you know, we can have the discussion to all blue in the face, but you know, we are struggling for young blood. I mean, Alex, you're 32, so you're the youngest by a country mile here, but very rarely do I look behind me on site and see anyone younger than me, and I'm in my 50s. And you know, I've been working on, you know, building houses for 36 years. I started at sort of 17, or I was learning, but I was working for a couple of young developers. We were in our mid-20s building executive homes.
There was a lot of people, when you go into the classrooms of today now, the amount of joinery benches or chippy benches that are there now is like, I think in the last college I went into, I think there was like 8 benches. Now when I did my training, probably the same as you, Dale, it was at least about 20-30 benches in there. And that was not enough.
3 different classrooms where I was.
It's just like crazy. So it's just, I mean, there was a statistic out there just recently saying that we needed 312,000 new tradespeople within the industry by 2025.
Yeah,
that's just
where
bonkers.
These,
where
not
long at all, is it?
Where these guys going to come from? So part of what we're all trying to do together in the Building Careers Live, you know, it's why, you know, we're all thrilled to be part of it. Is we've got to try and do something, because whatever anyone else is doing, either at government level or, you know, other bodies that will remain nameless, they're not, whatever they're doing isn't working.
Yeah, and they don't seem to be wanting to do anything about
There's
it.
a reluctance, an absolute reluctance. So
the only reason the bigger companies are trying to do something, because they have to still fuel their monster, isn't it?
Self-serving, yeah.
You know, these big developers, the way they come up with these different schemes is because they need to keep their monster driven, don't they? And keep creating units to create their money. You know,
they've got to keep hell stocked with fresh souls.
Do you think it could be because the people that are up making the decisions have never done a trade?
Yeah, I definitely think.
A lot of accountants and being accountants. We need to look out for the shareholders.
Yeah, I think it's always definitely a numbers thing, and definitely some of the people in the education system to do with construction. I think a lot of those people who make those decisions don't understand the mechanics of the industry and don't really understand how the training should be put in place to have solid training. I'm very much a believer, like Andy Stevens was saying on one of his lives. He was saying that really it needs to be going back to schools. I mean, I was at school. I did woodwork.
Go to the root.
Yeah, we did woodwork. We did steel work. You know, we did all kinds. In fact, we did catering. You know, we sort of did the whole round.
I think if you going back to education, which is a whole episode on its own. But
it is.
I built when I worked on the big commercial sites. I worked on a school in North Manchester. Yeah. And they'd spent an astronomical amount of money on making an IT lab. Yeah. So it was like they kitted it all out with Apple MacBooks and everything like that. and they just put no money whatsoever into woodwork, into metal fabrication, anything like that. So I think everybody's been pushed. You need to work on a computer. You need to do this.
I think it's been academic driven.
And this was in the past 10 years.
But I think what's really interesting, and one thing I'll say is this: IT is a really good example. So if you go back maybe 15 years, when the information technology computer blew up, right? It was everywhere, wasn't it? Everyone's getting computers. Yeah. So what was everyone encouraging their kids to go into? Go into IT. Yeah. IT. So we were faced with this massive explosion in computers and IT. So everyone's like, right, get trained in IT. That's great, but like, why not use your eyes? Everywhere you go, certainly in the sort of southeast or in the UK, there's building absolutely everywhere, isn't there?
Yeah.
So why is everyone not saying there's building everywhere? Quick! Get into building. Yeah. Why
I think that's a double-edged sword, that as well.
It is.
Because there is people jumping ship and coming into the industry because you don't need to be licensed to do I'm a bricklayer, you don't need to be licensed to be a bricklayer. You can just turn up, I can build that, or you can put an advert, or you can start an Instagram page and just keep putting work out and just turn up and do this work on people's houses, because there's people seeing exactly that every street you go down, no matter what town or city you go in, there's building work being done, and they want a piece of it. And they come in and they're doing absolutely rubbish jobs. Yeah. And then that, because it's like that old saying that it's always the builder's fault. Yeah. So when the work goes bad, or you see a job stop, you think, the builder must have done something wrong, or the builder's not done that right. Yeah. When really, sometimes it could have been the customer. Yeah. They've not paid the bill or whatever, and things like that. And it does need to start from school, I think. And I think it needs to be filtered up. And whether you license it like gas got licensed, I don't know.
Yeah. Definitely regulation. Regulating needs to come in, because I mean, you have it in Canada, you have it in Germany, don't you? You sort of Australia. Yeah. Everything's regulated. You have to sort of get it to code, and every section is passed off with real kind of big tick boxes. Yeah. Whereas I think I was talking to somebody just recently where there was this issue with building and control. In fact, it was your video, wasn't it, Dal? The building control thing, where it sort of
signed something off.
Yeah, that's signed off. And why does that happen? Is it because they're farming it out, and the people they're farming it out to don't really not so much they don't care, it's just they don't have the resources.
Maybe it comes down to money again. When the building control officer was employed by the council, many, I'm not saying across the board, but it didn't matter if they produced or didn't produce. Whereas if it's been farmed out to a third party, it's like, well, we need to get that inspected, and that inspected. Have they got targets they've got to meet? Yeah. Is that why?
I think the whole industry is all target orientated at the moment. I don't feel as if they're building I think it's driven that way. It's like, we've got to hit these targets.
So is that back to what we were saying earlier about basically the construction industry in terms of big infrastructure and a big house building? It's all being driven by the needs of the shareholders rather than...
it's even schools as well, isn't it? Because you have this thing where all of a sudden, like, schools have got to hit their targets for students going to sixth form, So instantly then you have this scenario, but why can't some really good educated kids go into construction? What's stopping them? Because the industry's got a great work. It's just, how many people I talk to and say, I love my job with a passion, because you can see what you've built, you can see this, you can see that, and that's I think it's really not being hit home. And obviously in time,
and there's so many layers to the industry.
It is, yeah.
So you could come into the industry as a bricklayer or a labourer, and then you could go on and then do a trade, and then if you wanted, you can then elevate it to site supervisor, manager, project manager, project
director.
What's
really interesting is watching you use your hands there.
Yeah.
It's always, you have to start down.
Yeah.
Are we in an age now where people don't want to start at the bottom? You have to start at the bottom. When you're youngsters, it's tough, and we've all done it. And you get the first day on the job, and what's your job? At brush. Yeah. And making the tea.
Yeah. And that's what it's about.
I think people don't want to have the journey to get to the top. They just want to go from there to there.
So basically, are we part of the problem? Because as I said earlier, here we are, I'm in my 50s and I'm perhaps portraying a false image of what it's like to be a carpenter in the UK, because I'm only showing you the part way down my journey. I'm not showing all the struggles when I was younger and not getting paid and having to do rubbish jobs, and so it's like you said about the journey. How do we get to show the journey?
I think that's where Instagram kicks in, because you got a young lad called Elliot, who's big on Instagram doing the carpentry side, and it's great to see such a young lad who's now in his last year, or pretty much coming to the end. In fact, he's just
qualified.
Just qualified, hasn't he? But you've gone on his journey through his apprenticeship in this last year, and how he's then connected using Instagram and connecting it. And the other thing is, it's allowed him then to. So a great example, he's gone off to do a roof with Dan Cox and Roger Bixby, and for him to go off and do that, but he would never been able to do that unless it was through Instagram.
With that platform.
So I think the thing is, it's like anything, it's how much you're willing to put yourself out and go for it. And the one thing, as Alex was saying earlier, is this thing of it allows you to build your confidence. And then also Elliot, I know for a fact, when I spoke to him, he's already been contacted by so many different apprentices and talking to him, which is only a positive thing. It's a brilliant thing.
He's got to be, like they talk about sort of poster boys, and I don't mean that, but he's like, we can talk till we're blue in the face. Generally, what we say and what youngsters who we're trying to inspire might not resonate so much looking at us, but someone like Elliot, 20 years old, he's what we're talking about.
He's relatable.
And
if one of them young lads, like that Elliot, or a young lad coming to plumbing or electrician, if they could go, right, I'm going to start a YouTube channel and follow my journey from going to college, right, it's Monday morning, going to college, it'll take a while to build up, but it's just another window, like mine, yours.
Mike from Greenhawk's doing that, isn't he, buddy?
Oh, is he?
He's like, he's done this post about apprentices. His two apprentices have gone, and then also I think Dave from Alwood Enterprises was doing a little bit of a post for the apprentice, getting the letting the apprentice have a go, and I think that's great because that's encouraging the youth to get involved and obviously start posting stuff, which I think is an absolute credit to all of them.
I think going into the building industry is tough enough on its own, so to get that, if you can put yourself out there for millions to see you, boost your confidence, then getting the confidence to go and work and learn and get on your feet, I think it'd be a bit easier then. But it's not for everyone. Not everyone's going to jump on the social media bandwagon, but the ones who will, moving with the times, I think it'll benefit.
But it'll just encourage people into it.
But also, you see, I know that I'm a bit older. I mean, how old are you?
44.
Yeah, so I mean,
44 shakes it all.
I got no hair to shake. Stress of the job.
But I'm in my 50s. Alex you're in the power. You're literally in his power stroke in your early 30s now. But
in the prime.
You are in the prime. But again, I think it's trying to
prime Viking.
I think with the sort of social media element of it does make it a bit more accessible. So you can reach out. People. If someone watches my video, your video, anyone's video, they can talk to me.
Yeah, they can
talk to me and say,
can't they? Yeah.
well, but they can say, oh, what about this or what about that? How do I do this? How do I do that? And I answer. I think you still do, don't you?
Try to.
I answer every single comment. Yeah, it does. It's starting to get tough. But again, it's if you think about trying to sort of inspire people, help people, just the fact that someone can get hold of you, you're not this unreachable thing.
You're not unapproachable.
No, so it's basically it's making it comfortable for people. For youngsters. Remember being,
and then the other thing is for women as well. How many times do I hear it now? Women trying to get into the industry. I mean, that's a big key thing. Just like they should be massively encouraged. In the show, you can come along. There'll be so many carpenters and bricklayers who are all part of this journey, female, and I think it's really, really key. It
can be very daunting, very male orientated. So I think, but there's definitely places for girls who can come in, and I think they can do really well. In my town, there's a couple. One's a landscape gardener. She does really well because people like to. There's nothing like a woman's touch, is there? But also, there's a decorator. She really top-end clients as well. Really good what she does.
You got Jen, the decorator. You got your friend as well, who's a huge decorator on Instagram.
She's doing really well.
And then you got obviously Erin as well, who's another carpenter.
See, she's just done something with Google, hasn't she? Which is
she's
great.
Google ads.
I was watching something on YouTube, non-trade, it was to do with cars or whatever, and it popped up, and it was a Google ad. And of course, I was there, reach for the skip button, which you shouldn't do, you should always watch the ads. And I was like, there's Darcy. And again, it was her on the trowel promoting people to get in, for women to get in, just people to get into the trade. So I think it is becoming a thing now. You know, off the back of the show's going to be massive for it. But I think there is that shift happening at the minute.
100%. Yeah.
Oh,
100%.
Absolutely. It's changing.
It took a while to
changing.
come, but it is. That movement is coming.
It's definitely. I mean, if you imagine. I know it sounds one of the analogies I use in life is like, you imagine when all the guys went off into war at the Second World War, who really won the war for us? Actually, it was male and female, because the females were in the factories producing everything. You know, so it's just like, but nobody really talks about that much. But that is
we don't remember it like you, Tony.
No.
During the war.
They're all else's now.
Worked on that one.
Worked on that one. But I think this thing, isn't it? I think that's it's great to see a lot of female, and also the whole dynamic of the industry changing like that.
Yeah, but it needs to, and like I've said many times, there's lots of things need to change in our industry.
I think the construction industry is 10 years behind other industries with everything that it does.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But, on every single
I'd say
level.
that's being conservative.
Yeah,
and that's a really good way. You're right, because you know, my older brother works in the waste sector, and they've got miles more roles for girls and women in there, and not just office space. I'm talking about, you know, forklift driving or doing all the things that the men are doing.
Yeah.
So I think 10 years is probably conservative, and it feels like it, doesn't it, as well? And it's little things like the acceptance of conditions is, we're all guilty of it because we accept it. I know, Tony, you treat your guys really, really well, but generally, you know, it doesn't. Well, in terms of you look after them, you do. Well, sorry, you
time that screen.
Tony, very carefully they edit out all the abuse that Tony gives his boys. But you know, a lot of the jobs I do, it's not like that. There's nowhere to park your van. There's nowhere to. There's no toilet or no welfare, no showers. Fair enough. You go on the big jobs, the big infrastructure jobs. Fair enough, they've got welfare, they've got toilets, they've got shower facilities, they've got all of that.
But that's to do with the whole way industry is perceived, isn't it? You know, we have this like kind of mentality about, you know, it's going to be this, it's going to be that. And I think, you know, times are changing. I think with everybody being united and getting together, you know, the dream is that we all start coming together, and I do believe that's what will happen. Everybody will start, because of the digital presence with everybody will start coming together, and it'll start changing.
The influence is coming from a different place now, Tone, and it's coming from people like us, just small little bits at a time.
But it's like this old a great saying by a very famous man, you know, you change one person's mind, you start to change everybody's, don't you? You know, and that's really, really key. And you know, that's the big thing.
Even in the past, sort of, I've been doing the work that I do now with the awareness work, and somebody asked me the question, do you think it will change in your lifetime, people's persona about mental health in the construction industry? Even 18 months ago, I used to say to people, probably not. But now it is on the forefront of everybody's mind.
Yeah, definitely.
And you've seen that change within, just from what...
I would definitely, because like we were talking earlier, Matt, with Rob, and literally when Rob started this journey, you'd have so many views, and now it's like views have gone massively up. So that is a pure indicator of all of a sudden the reach from where he started his journey a year ago, then suddenly making this reach from where he is now. It's just absolutely brilliant, you know, what you're doing, mate.
And like we were talking about before about people at the top making decisions and stuff. And when I very first came up with the idea of the podcast, and mainly coming up with names for it, I thought I don't want it to seem like a boardroom incentive, like very disingenuous, and that's why I came up with the podcast, so people could realise that I'm just a bricklayer from Manchester that does this work.
Relatable.
Yeah, I'm not a big chief executive of a big company that I want to be seen to be making these changes with the company as a PR stunt. And it's taken a while. I've been doing it for 3 years. I mean, the podcast has been around 18 months, but the work I've been doing has been over the past sort of 5 years, and there's been huge steps on it. And I've come from the tier 1 sector, so the big commercial stuff, and now they're working it into that you have to have mental health first aiders, and you have to have people that are within your site team, not just people that work for your company, within your site team before you can even tender for a job now.
But do you know this really funny thing that you say that? Do you not think that these big manufacturers, not like developers, because they are having to start to conform, but these big manufacturers, you know, like some of these big key players within the UK, they need to sort of start now, you know, doing what we're doing. They need to start putting back into the industry to by actually saying, okay, you know, we know certain companies like British Chips are doing a great job of that. Dulux is starting to move that way, and other companies are. But I think they all need to be like looking internally at themselves to say, actually, we've got to change the industry how it's perceived, because if we don't, we're going to lose our footprint coming into our shops, buying our product, which we need to sell to the builders. Exactly. And if we can't start putting in and giving back, because, you know, it's not all about taking the money, it's that if they give back, it allows them then to think, actually, we're putting a really good foundation for the future, aren't we?
Absolutely.
And they're future buyers. And I think that's really where they've got to be careful how much they're going to be biting off. They've got to sort of say, right, okay, let's get involved with this, let's get involved with that, let's help them do this. And that's the one thing
if we can be seen to be helping people, and we can be seen to be giving back, and it's all about building that image. They're not just a tool manufacturer, or they're not just a building supplier or whatever like that. They do actually care about the industry that they serve.
That's it. They're trying to help and support the industry. Now, one of the quick questions I want to ask: who does it think? You know, like all this world, we're in construction, and we have this thing of who are the people who best run sites? Is it bricklayers? Is it chippies? Is it plumbers? Is it electricians? It is a big debate, isn't it?
You know the answer.
I know that.
It's bricklayers, because if there were no bricklayers on site, there'd be no building there, would there?
Carpenters make the best site managers.
I had this massive debate with this at the Bricky. It was really funny. We were talking about this thing, and they're saying, because I know a few plumbers and electricians who do their own developments, do their own stuff, so they've started to understand a whole wreath of different things coming together. But it was this big deliberation. Is it brickers or is it chippies?
What, who officially run it? From my point of view, as soon as a plasterer turns up, the site just, whatever the plasterers want, they get. Let's move mountains. Move your van, mate, the plasterers to pay, because you've got to get the boards in.
They are the glory boys, they are the finishers.
And they turn up about 10 of them, whatever, I don't know, Kiss FM or whatever, some random hardcore raves music.
What's the radio etiquette? Is whoever's there first gets to choose the station. It's pretty. If you go in there and someone's like rocking like Kister in the morning, you come straight in and put on like 5 Live or something.
I want Ken Bruce on at 10 o'clock for Popmaster. Never get it. I'm a Popmaster guy. But you're right, that etiquette, and I've found like I've done this before. I've been working in an area and you get the radio clash, and I've gone, sod this, I'm moving up there.
Just can't listen to it.
I can't. That, or what you get a lot now is when you've got the Makita radios. One of them's a DAB radio, and one of them isn't. And you got that 3 second delay.
We'll go quadraphonic. No, it doesn't work. But back to what Tony was saying about who makes the best site is what I'm going to try and do, because I'm going to take the opportunity I can insult 2 people simultaneously. I heard this. What the guy taught me said. He said a bricklayer is just a plumber with his brain smashed in. And a plumber is just a carpenter with his brain smashed in.
Brilliant. It's a good job you got glasses on now.
I was being generous, because that's the way round.
What does that make electricians then?
I mean,
they're different too.
It depends who's talking. So what I'm saying is, depending which way you do it, who's at the top or who's at the bottom.
I love it.
But no, I certainly when I did my apprentice on a firm, it's very much like Tony's. It was the job came first. It was either right or it was wrong. If it wasn't right, you take it all down and do it again as an apprentice. So that's where my ethos came from, trying to do the best job I can. But certainly the guys that I've worked under that were really good site agents were carpenters. Now that's just my little world, and they just seem to have.
I've only come across one big site. It was for Tri Galliford. The site foreman there. He was actually bloody good site foreman as well. He was a brickie but you could tell he had so many years of experience behind him. He knew you could tell he'd been running sites for years because you just knew how the things programmed together. Yeah. And it's only those years of experience that allow you to do that as anybody, isn't it? As a
what I would say, and again, this is talking about sort of dominant trades in one field or another. In my opinion, most of the builders that I know that are successful were bricklayers.
Yes.
Because a bricklayer, I'm not just a bricklayer, but we were the bricklayers that I did my apprenticeship with. They were taught everything from groundwork, setting up groundwork. Yeah. So actually, you think from a bricklayer, if you say you got planning for a pair of semis, a bricklayer, he could clear the site, dig the footings, concrete the footings, do the footing, do the oversight, brick it up. I'm not disrespecting what we do, but put the joists on, get it up to brick, and even put gable end to gable end truss roof. The bricklayers could get a building completely watertight without anybody else, couldn't they?
I would agree with that, Dale. I think probably maybe in my experience of life is definitely carpenters have been I would say not the leaders, but more I've come across in site management, but definitely construction firms. It's always been more bricklayers that have ran their own companies because they can do a whole bigger spectrum of work. So definitely for me, I had a huge learning curve, learning all the groundworks, learning all the drainage, but it's like anything, unless you throw yourself in it and have a go. It's just.
But a lot of that. So your carpentry came first, Tony. I think you were a bench joiner to start with.
Yeah, it's really funny. People ask me this question. They always say to me, "Tony, what are you, a joiner or a carpenter?" And I say, "Well, I say I'm a carpenter because that's what I've always was told." I'm being trained as a carpenter. It's really funny, but there was a time phrase where people said, "Oh, no, I'm a carpenter, I'm a joiner," and I was just thinking, well, we're all carpenters, aren't we?
Well,
it's
say
just
that.
How it got diluted.
Let's ask the Mancunian. What do they call it? Because literally, if you go, what's does a joiner come and put the roof on?
Yeah. He'll come and do the timber work. Yeah.
Right. So people said to me, "What's the difference between a joiner and a carpenter?" See, I would say a joiner is someone who specialises in joining timber together, like a joinery carpenter.
In the workshop.
A joiner, and then a carpenter takes the joinery and puts it on site.
I think that boils down to whoever trained you there, mate, isn't it?
I think it's geographical.
Yeah, it could be. Because and the guys
who
bread
train, rolls.
Yeah,
it's not go there. Can't go there with your batches and bands.
Your baps. That thing is like the guy who taught me. He was really, really good outside, really good in the joinery shop, and I suppose it's because that's how I was always taught. That's how I was always led to believe. It's like I'm a chippy, and so I don't ever class myself as a joiner. But I think it could be really geographical, and definitely it could be then how you were trained right at the very start. I mean, how do you see it, Alex? Are you sort of...
Yeah, what's it like? I mean, obviously we're talking sort of north and south of England, but obviously out from Wales. I mean, what?
Yeah, there's always been a distinction between joiner in the bench joiners in the workshop.
So it's similar to what I would be saying.
Yeah. I get called. It depends where I go working. Like I've been all across.
Get
the
called
UK.
all sorts of it, don't you?
That's before they even know it.
Wood butcher.
We want to know what we all do. I mean, the things I get called, I've been called, I can't repeat them.
What's that on a night out?
Yeah, just generally. I mean, especially, and again, I think I said earlier that potentially I'd got a bit of beef with Tony. Because I thought I'd start doing my YouTube channel and just thinking about what name to call myself, and I just thought, do you know what I call myself? The tall carpenter. I'm 6 foot, nearly peaked out at 6'6". I'm shrinking a bit now, trying to stand up straight.
As you get older, you start doing
his wallet in his pocket, tracking it down.
That's why when you
Google answers.
That's why he's never bought himself a GoPro.
That's why when you see plumbers, they're bent over double.
That's what the knee pads are for.
But I thought, tall carpenter's great. It's sort of generic and doesn't give away too many details. And started posting a few bits and bobs on YouTube, and it sort of gained a little bit of traction. And then, of course, I can't remember how, but Tony and I sort of. Yeah, I think I reached out to you because I felt a bit when it started to take traction, I was a bit lost. And so anyway, Tony came into my life, and like anyone's life that Tony comes into, obviously things just get a bit brighter.
Mark Glasspool's going to walk in a minute with a red mug.
Alex like him, Michael Glasspool.
This is your life, mate. I'm not that young, as I say. I'm young, but not that young.
But no, and of course I come to meet Tony, and of course there he is. He's like as tall, if not taller than me. You've ruined it for me, Tony.
Great.
But what I will say, Tony, is you might be a tall carpenter, but I'm the tall carpenter.
He's been queuing that up for about 45 minutes.
Tallish carpenters.
No, I've got the joke of the century's coming. Everyone have to hang fire for the best joke. Who'll come from the driest man in the south of England, Dan Cox. So when I went to meet him, and I did do a video, I went to meet him down at Tool Show in Alexandra Palace. It was great talking to him, and so he was sort of meeting and greeting guys. He was showcasing his square. Yeah. And these guys came up and he told the most amazing story which led to he lined us up for this joke. It's absolutely brilliant. So I'm not going to tell you guys what it is. Hopefully what we'll do is get Dan, we'll set it up, and maybe the Building Careers Live will get him and we'll let him drop this joke because it was really, really
definitely
good.
Do that, mate, definitely.
But yeah, I mean in terms of bricklayers, plumbers, carpenters, that we're all sort of intertwined together, and depending on what sort of environment you work in, it will depend on how much you work in with those other trades. And certainly from my point of view, and I know this is
Sorry about this, can I go for it?
Yeah.
Bursting.
Obviously working with a crew of guys, and Tone, you've got a really good team of guys that all work for
really looking blessed with that.
But
it's just
we're us sort of more sort of out in the wild a little bit and working in with other trades, and I think it's something that is to me it's really important. I think this I'm alright Jack, pull up the ladder for trades, I think is really, really bad, and not caring about who comes in behind. And I will always go the extra mile to put bits of batten in for the plasterers, or try and help the bricklayers with their plates or whatever they want to do, rather than just think it's not right, I'm just going to smash it on. And I don't know if that's the sort of thing that you guys
you've got to try and work with a good team. I've recently done a house in Edmonton with Dave Coles. Dave Coles ran it, and this edges back to Dave is a really, really good chippy, and he ran this job to the absolute T. And I think because a chippy can be there early doors, he's there when I'm first fixing, he's the last guy putting the skirtings on, he sees the whole job. And Dave run that, and the team that
he's the chippy, isn't he? He's not a bricky, is he?
No, he's a chippy.
I'll just get that in there, Rob.
He's
That's why we make best site managers.
But the team he got in there, I knew a few of them, and a few that were new to his team, but they all seen that he was helping me out, or I was helping the electrician. Where are you looking at running your cable? All right, I'll leave you this. And the new people on site were like, oh, we look after each other. We help each other out. We don't just go, balls in, sod you, do this. And that whole job just worked so well.
And the end result of that is a better job, isn't it?
Perfect.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
On time, on price.
I think the thing is that there's two site mentalities. You see, that sort of mentality that Dale's talking about is the big site mentality. It's because
dog and
I think the reason of that is because everybody's on a price. And then they're being pushed down on their price instead of being given a good price to do the job properly, or within their time limits. And I think that is the crux of it.
I think a lot of that though comes down to the people that you do the jobs for on the bigger sites.
100%.
If you're doing a job for a certain contract, I can sit here now, I'm not going to name them, but there's certain contractors that we used to work for that I used to hate working for them.
Yeah.
And they used to leave the subbies to do whatever they wanted and cause all these arguments and play each other off about stuff. And that's when they used to have tons and tons of problems. And they used to think, it's not my job, I don't care. I'll dump my wagon load of block there and it's going to stop the ground worker coming through. But I haven't fallen out with the ground worker. It's because I've fallen out with the site management, and I'm making their life difficult, and they used to come in my office and start moaning at me, go, not my problem, go and speak to them. And
so how much influence do you have as a bricklayer in the jobs you do to try and either make sure that your job can be facilitated as smoothly as possible, or the people coming behind you? Is there much influence you can have in terms of bricklayer?
you can dictate how the job goes, and it can work both ways, in the sense that people used to get the company in that I used to work for, not always on the price of what they'd given in for the job, but the service that we used to provide, because we did used to do that extra bit, and we used to help out, and we always had our own forklifts on site, so they were always useful, so we could help unload and things like that. And again, depending on who used to come and ask me, can you get your forklift just to unload? If he was quiet and he was ahead of himself and he was all ready, and the person who come and asked me was nice, then absolutely mate, I'll help you out and get that done.
just what's interesting there, when I did do work on site down in London, the guy that was on the best spin was the Forks.
He would
be getting tenors. He'd get tenors chucked at him like he was in a lap dancing club, and he was like, just run a
Let stick a tenor to his JCB.
They would be literally on the take. But and Alex, what about you in terms of working with other trades? I mean, what sort of stuff do you do?
Like I said, I've always seen jobs from start to finish. Yeah. I cover all aspects of carpentry, so I read from first fix, second fix, finals a lot. And I think for me, working with other trades, I'd be self-conscious if I didn't help out the trade.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't assist them and it messes up their job, I feel like I get the blame or I get my reputation knocked.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we
don't help out sort of thing.
He's not a team player, he doesn't do this. So it's always for me, it's just to work with people because of, I get worried about my reputation.
There's nothing better than a fellow tradesman singing your praises or recommending you. We've all got guys. I'll throw the tiler that does our tiling, I'll throw him into the Pepsi challenge with anybody else's tiler. When someone says, I've got really good tilers, I say, no, my tiler's better. It's like, it's going to some MMA grudge match. But when you've got a guy that you can put your hand on your heart and say, this guy's good, he's not going to rip you off and he'll do an amazing job. That, if another tradesman who's good at what he does says that about you, I think that's really amazing.
But I think it's this thing, isn't it? Like you just touched about a subject there, which like kind of, it was posted on Instagram. It's like you spoke about earlier about this Christmas. How much do you charge? And recently we've just done this video where Greg, amazing tiler, has just gone down to London. There's been a couple of comments saying, "Oh, better charge than I'm," and I'm just thinking, it's not knowing your worth. It's just that if you imagine. Greg has now sort of been in the industry nearly 15 years. So the way I look at it is when you pay somebody a set amount of money to do a job, whatever that money, you can accept it or not accept it. And that is it. At the end of the day, you're paying a skilled tradesman. You're not just paying for that person or that specific day.
No.
You're paying for all of those years of history and experience of doing what he's doing. And I think people forget about that.
They said a little statement, you don't pay me for the 30 minutes it cost me to do it, you pay me for the 30 years that it took me to do it in 30 minutes.
That's
right.
I think that old adage that it's never a truer word is qualities remember long after price is forgotten.
It's definitely the case. And I think there's a lot of that within the industry where people say, oh yeah, he's rich. The way I look at it, I've had it myself where people say, oh, times are expensive. I don't see myself expensive. I just say you get X, Y, and Z, the product, this is what it is, this is what it's about. And whenever I recommend anybody else, I say, yeah, that guy's really good at what he does. He knows his product inside out. You go and do a deal with him. Or that is it. And that's the thing with the industry. It is perceived in a certain way. Oh, you're being charged too much, or this is too much. I think that's rubbish. You pay for what you get. And
value, to be brutally honest, value is subjective.
It is.
You've got clients that will clearly look at the work you do and the service you provide, and objective, they think, no, this is worth every penny. Simple as that.
You wouldn't try knocking your dentist down if you told you your filling was 150 quid. You wouldn't say, could you 110 of so I can do it's the same thing.
I'll scrape a little bit out.
I'll do a half now and a half later when you got the funds together. It is the same thing.
It is definitely. I like that, mate. Look at that feeling. I love that.
Well, Tony will be using that one again.
Definitely.
I think that's a good place to end the podcast. I think there. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming together.
Enjoyed that.
Awesome, guys. Awesome.
I'm off to the dentist now. So
man.
Thank you to everybody who's watched this podcast all the way through. And if you made it to the end, you did better than Tony did because we had to stop halfway through. He had to go to the toilet. But no, thank you very much for coming along.
4 times we went wrong.
He's only had one glass of water. Thank you very much for coming along and watching the journey with us that we've been on today, and hopefully this is going to be the first of many. Again, thank you for Tony and his team for having us down. So
awesome, guys.
Awesome,
guys.
As soon as I saw the video where John had plastered this lovely wall, and I thought, that's absolutely amazing, what you don't want to do is put anything on it, Tony said, no, this is going to be the sticker wall. I can see John welling up. I can see it welling up.
Honestly, his tears.
So here we go. Here we go. Where we go? What I'm not going to be. I'm not going to go above everyone. I'm going to go just down here.
Oh,
You're already too. Yeah.
You got a big enough sicker, mate. Exactly the tall guy.
Make it up for someone else. Mark's is the biggest. Steve and Alex, look, have come in large.
Thank you for coming down today, Alex. Doing the podcast with us.
To see you,
To
buddy.
the left as well. I can see myself
Get on
next to
there.
it.
Yes, get in there, mate. Love that.
Lovely.